Welcome to the Sports Show. Mike Max, Patrick Reusse, Sid Hartman, and a special guest, Brian Lawton, a player, an agent, a general manager, a hockey parent, and beyond. Thanks for coming in, Lots.
My pleasure.
In fact,
you're
doing a lot
Mike.
of work up in Toronto on TV right now.
I do a lot of analytical work for Rogers and Sportsnet.
What do you remember about when he came to town?
Well, I remember there was a question of drafting him or somebody else.
that guy didn't turn
you
out.
never know how things are going to work out, but he did all right. And there was a lot of heat because the guy who went to Detroit turned out to be a superstar.
But he wasn't very good.
He was pretty
And then he follows him up at Tampa as the GM.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Tell me
Well,
about
he built that team in Tampa, and then they let him go. I mean, I'm kind of close to this guy. I've known him for a long, long
I
time.
appreciate you saying that, Sid.
And his father-in-law is one of my best friends. We spend a little time together.
good financial advisor for you.
Yeah, a very sharp financial guy. He was a guard for Ozzie Calls at one time.
No, Ron.
No, yeah.
And we talked about it the other day, how Mr. Calls' coach, Grant, couldn't shoot. He put him in one spot, and every time he's going to shoot, he had to go to that spot.
Grant?
Couldn't shoot from any other spot.
Back in the day. Brian, tell me about the Wild. What do you see right now?
Well, obviously, right now it's been a feeling out period, in my opinion, for them. They've added these two superstars in Suter and Parise, and it just takes a little while for them to gel with the rest of the team. So far, I think so good, though. I think they're right there to be in the playoffs. They're going to continue to grow as a team, and I see them finishing really strong this year.
Patrick, how do you think the fans are patient with the Wild? How would you?
Yeah, I think they're pretty. The Wild fans have been patient for a decade. They don't make the playoffs, and they get 90% renewal, and nobody gets mad at them. And I think here's my theory on the Wild. They're the first team to really get the mom, dad, and two kids from the suburbs to show up, and they're not. Mom and dad aren't going to walk out of the arena telling the 8-year-old and the 6-year-old what a lousy game it was. They're going to say, "Did we have a good time? Sure, they got beat 8-1, but we had a heck of a time." So I think they have a very forgiving audience.
Well, the other thing, Brian, North Stars versus when they came back is girls hockey got introduced to this state, and so you've got this whole other demographic that came with the Wild. Girls hockey players that want to go to hockey games, and dads and moms want to take them there.
Yeah, it really is a family affair over there. But the thing that's blown me away, Mike, more than anything, having played for the North Stars over in Bloomington, west side of town, is just how well St. Paul's really embraced.
You sound like Sid.
It's been incredible. It really was a stroke of genius. And, I work for some people now that are looking at buying teams. And when you go around and you look for certain things in the market, one is the number of people that participate in the sport. And this market here is an incredible market. I still think its best times are ahead of it as far as fans. They have had some really nice benefits in people being gracious. But it's time now for the Wild to start winning, and I think they're on the precipice of that.
That's why Leopold spent $200 million, because he knew that the honeymoon was over and he had to win some games.
Well, because you led that campaign to get a team in St. Paul. They said Minneapolis, you said no way. St. Paul is the only place I'll go.
It was a stroke of genius.
Yes.
We not only led the campaign, we had the thing. If Marvin Wolfenson didn't screw it up, we had the team.
We would have gotten a new press box in Target Center, or would we still had to take 9 elevators to get up there to this idiotic
place? We're talking to Gary Bettman every day, and Wheelock Whitney and myself and Louie. We had the thing all locked up. And
Wheelock gave a great speech. I'll never forget it. He said Minneapolis without hockey would be a cold Omaha. It was one of the best speeches.
Were you there when Wheelock gave the speech?
I was there when he gave the speech. It was amazing.
We had Wheelock give the speech. And Wheelock gave one of the greatest speeches that the taxpayers had not spent one nickel for one thing in Minneapolis. This is the final thing we asked for, $15 million a year for 3-4 years, and the team would be shipped right there.
From Winnipeg.
From Winnipeg. And they wouldn't do it. And Bettman kept on calling me, "How long you want me to do this thing?" Yeah. And finally...
Well, we're a lot better off that you didn't get the team, because the Wild got a great arena out of the deal. We got a great arena out of the deal.
Yeah, but Brian, give me some perspective on this, though. You talk about New York, L.A., Chicago, all sharing arenas. How good is this market where everybody gets their own arena? What does that do for a franchise?
Well, you know what? I think it gives it some exclusivity. I mean, the Wild are just the Wild in St. Paul, and I think that's been part of their success story over the years. But I do agree with Patrick. Now it is time for the Wild to start to win more consistently and to really develop into more of a powerhouse.
Listen, most of their fans are from Minneapolis and the suburbs anyway. And it hurt Minneapolis a lot when that arena in St. Paul was built, because a lot of these shows and all this stuff, the result is neither one is making money on their shows and all that stuff.
Because they're cutting each other out.
They're competing with each other and giving them the rental for nothing. I was sick when we didn't get that thing. He knows how involved I was. And we had
You lost again, Sid.
Yeah.
What's your record? God almighty.
Yeah.
we had it locked up.
And now the Timberwolves, they've done a great job. They're going to start their renovations, and the Target Center is
That's going to be a very nice
upgraded,
arena when they get done with
you know,
that.
How incredible is that going to be?
Take a
So,
break, come back, stay with us, the Sports Show. There it is, locally owned, nationally known. J.D. Hoyt's on Washington.
They're gonna
Little
get it,
surprise visitor there from their owner. We'll share some of the goodies a little bit later.
We're smelling pork chops while we're sitting here doing the
Catfish.
show.
So, Brian, is the
Some
NHL
catfish.
healthy now through this work stoppage? They come out of it pretty well on the other side, do you think, for the long term?
I think that they will. It's too early to tell right now. When you get a new CBA, it takes a couple of years to really see the effects. But, you know, the goal was obviously to improve it for some of those southern teams, to create more revenue sharing. You know, we have a disparity in what obviously the Torontos and the Vancouvers, the Phillies, the New Yorks are making. And I think we accomplished that, but we really truly won't know for 2 or 3 more years.
And you got to figure about 2 years before some owner figures out a way to get
Circumvent
around circumvent it. So then they go back to the players and want them to save the players again. You know, the NHL, they lock them out. They get all they want 5, 8 years ago, and then they're coming back asking the players to protect them from themselves again. It drives me crazy. Leopold gives away $196 million and then says we can't have these long-term contracts.
What'd you think of that, Sid?
I don't think they'll be coming back anymore.
Well, they
I
can't.
think they're pretty solid right now. I think you'll see about 3 or 4 of these teams fold in the next 3 or 4
You
years.
think they'll fold, Brian?
I think
Or move?
Phoenix will be gone. I think Nashville will be gone. Those guys aren't going
Nashville's
to keep
pretty
on
good,
losing money like they're losing it, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I don't believe we'll have contraction. I don't believe teams will fold. But I do believe that we may need to do this deal is obviously an incredibly long-term deal. That's what eventually both sides want.
Florida.
But I think we'll see some tweaking in 3 to 4
Will
years.
Seattle end up with a basketball and a hockey team there, build one arena? And
Seattle will absolutely end up with a basketball team. That's their mission. No public funding necessary for those guys out there. It's about $250 million investment into the region with the purchase of Sacramento and funding their own building, which is incredible in today's world. But their focus, I've talked to the gentlemen that are doing that, and their focus is strictly basketball. They're going to look at hockey, I think, down the road, but that's a secondary thought for those guys.
I don't see hockey expanding. And
Well, they're not expanding,
They're
Sid. Relocation. There's 3 or 4 franchises go someplace else. Are they going to get the arena in the suburbs of Toronto? Are the Maple Leafs going to let another team go in there or not?
I just had lunch the other day with the person that's doing that project.
Trying to get it done, huh?
A guy by the name of Graham Rouston, who used to be the chairman of Bauer, and he will absolutely get his project done. Whether or not he gets a team, that'll be step 2, but he will get an arena built in Markham, in my mind.
Toronto
Well,
apparently
well,
is
you
so
know.
hockey crazy that they think they can support 2 teams.
can they?
I would
Absolutely, a layup.
They can?
Yes, I mean, we see it. It won't be a new dynamic. The Clippers, the Lakers, we've got the Mets and the
Yeah.
Yankees. You know, other sports have multiple
But
teams.
the interest
Chicago.
is high enough.
Absolutely. It would be a home run.
Well, you know,
to have a
Sid, you were
second
talking
team.
today about the St. Paul Fighting Saints and the North Stars at the same time. What do you remember about those days?
I remember the Fighting Saints for the Fighting Saints. Glenn Sommer made sure they were the Fighting Saints. And what happened was when they got the franchise, they wanted to play in St. Paul. The Ordways were big money guys in that thing.
Yeah.
Irvine. They wanted to go to St. Paul. They wanted St. Paul to lift the St. Paul Auditorium roof up, add some more seats, and St. Paul won the whole part of it. Then after they turn them down, they go to work and put a team in St. Paul. And typical St. Paul, and all the operations we've had. When it comes to baseball, they agreed to have the stadium out here if we could get it out here. Then they build their own stadium. Everything.
Boy, you brought up the old resentments there. With,
Yeah. What do you remember about the Fighting Saints, Patrick? It was kind of interesting to sit down.
Yeah, well, it was.
They drew well for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, but they were kind of giving it away. I know one thing. I was at St. Paul Paper then, and we plugged them like crazy. We tried to get them going. They were fun to watch because it was like 8-6. Mike Walton never went in the defensive zone in the entire 2 years he played for them. He just went between the red lines waiting for somebody to throw him the puck so he could. They'd score a lot of goals. It was fight, and they had some crazy guys. But
I remember they had a playoff game. They had nobody there.
Whether they were going to get paid or not was always the drama. Sonmore always tells a story about how they had $25,000 cash in an envelope going out to the airport, he and Wayne Belisle trying to get the guys enough cash to get on the plane, and they finally said no, and that was the first time they folded, I think. They folded twice.
Yeah, let's take a break, come back. You're watching The Sports Show. Stay with us. There it is. Stop on by Audi, Minneapolis, right off of 394 and General Mills Boulevard. Was just out there the other day and drive that Q7 year-round. It is outstanding. Welcome back to The Sports Show. J.D. Goetz, another one of our great sponsors here. Nice enough to drop off some goodies.
What do we got? Let's see that buddy bowl.
Oh boy.
All right, folks. Can we get a picture of the buddy bowl here? I want to explain it.
Get some of that cornbread, too, will you,
Here's the buddy
Chelsea?
bowl. Yep. Okay, those are catfish, shrimp, scallops, red beans, and rice. The best thing you ever ate, man.
Wow. All right here. You frequenting that place,
fabulous.
Brian?
I have.
Let's talk a little bit about the great Timberwolves today.
We will. We want to get some cornbread first, though. I love this cornbread.
Yes, cornbread, fabulous.
Anything.
Okay, anyway, what were you saying, Sid?
It's the only show that has women parade in front here, bring the food up
That's marketing,
in front.
Sid, marketing. This isn't like the
If you had
Lakers.
marketed the Lakers right, they
like
never
the
got
Lakers.
Los
I
Angeles.
thought that thing was bad when Dark Star told rest in peace. This guy's a bigger prostitute than Dark Star ever was.
Ooh, this smells good.
I don't want any.
Whoa.
You should see him eat guacamole during the fair. Though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I wrote a column today for tomorrow comparing the two great basketball teams we got here. They're both equal. They're both last in
Today was a
turnover.
good game.
Huh?
Today was a hell of a game.
Yeah. They both stink.
I'll tell you what, they look good the first quarter. And the other team's better than they are. What are they supposed to do?
Give me a general manager's perspective there, Brian. How do you build it? I think they got a culture problem right now. They're having a tough time attracting anybody that would want to come here that's good.
I disagree a little bit because one of the factors, Minneapolis is a great city, so you have that going for you, obviously, and that's important. But the thing that really gets the guys to come in is you start to acquire some good young players and you build some excitement that way. That's the last piece to attracting good players, and it's a little bit of the chicken or the egg. I think the Timberwolves are into that phase now. I think their future is very bright. You know, obviously with Rubio, who knows? The sky's the limit. So I think they're going to be able to get those free agents in the future.
He's back, by the way. Rubio's back.
Yeah.
It's just he's throwing the ball to guys who can't make a shot. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, he had some turnovers there, but he's playing well.
Yeah.
Well, I disagree with you. I think that Love comes back. The same guys are hurt all the time, and Love is hurt all the time.
So what's your point, though? What do you disagree on?
I don't think good free agents will come here because they want to come to a winner.
I think Minnesota has a bad reputation right now.
And I don't think Glenn Taylor will spend the money to get the big-time free agents.
Here's his problem.
He's had a chance to do it.
Here's his problem. He can't have three max players, and you got Love, and Rubio's going to be close to being a max player. They're going to have to let Pekovic go. They can't afford to pay
Kind
him.
of like Oklahoma City with Harden.
They can't afford to let him go. Pay him $12 million.
Yeah,
They better not let him go, then they won't win any
Yeah,
game.
well, if you let him go, if you don't let him go and you're paying three guys the max, you think he's going to pay the escrow?
I think they're one more good draft pick away from really turning this thing around. I really do.
this guy-
Petrovic and
that guy
Carolino,
was a president.
Rubio.
Marcus-
Honestly, I
That
think they're
draft,
one guy away.
making that good draft pick has been an issue, though.
Well,
The guy who's president of the club is the worst executive in the history of sports.
David Kahn?
He has drafted worse. If you try to draft worse, you couldn't draft worse than him.
He's never drafted anybody worse than Andy Eby.
Yeah. Yeah,
good point.
One bad draft.
Let me ask you,
Rashad McCants, he didn't draft him.
why?
Guys weren't available. Eby was terrible. But they did a pretty good job of drafting the best player available when they were available. Garnett wasn't
The Brandon
bad.
Roy deal and Randy Foy didn't do well for him.
Huh?
Randy Foy and Brandon Roy deal didn't do well for him either.
Randy Foy's still doing well.
I know, but
They're
they let him
unlucky.
go. Nothing happened.
I'm just saying.
They're a combination of sometimes inept, but they're the most unlucky team in the history of sports.
They're both.
Unbelievable.
They're both. Why is your paper so upset about or worried about Leslie Frazier? He's got 2 years left on his contract.
Why are they upset? Here's the thing. The Wolves have got some tough financial problems.
That
They
doesn't
got
answer
10
the question.
They got 10 free.
You said that
you've
last
been doing
week.
all the talking. You're
You
going.
said that last week. What's the reason that we're so upset about it?
I got no problem with the guy. He's got 2 years left.
I don't know why they're upset. You're upset about it too.
Not me. I don't care.
Well, let me
Leslie did a hell of a job this year.
But-
Let me finish, will
Okay,
you?
are you gonna finish,
Say
or-
one thing here.
You're going to tell us how the
amazing.
you're going to tell us how the Wilfs didn't make any money again? You did that last week.
They didn't want. They gave one contract. They paid the guy last year $6 million. I mean, a total of $6 million.
Childers. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. They got 10 free agents this year. 5 they got to keep. And if they want to keep Harvin, they got to pay through the nose. You think they got a Vikings at the Timberwolves got a problem? Vikings got a worse problem. They weren't going to give this guy a 3-4 year contract for $3-4 million a year and then not work out. So they'll take care of him. They like him, but we got negative. Suhan, when he writes a positive column, it's a miracle.
I agree with you. Let's get some more positivity in this town. Come on.
So, Brian, what's the matter? Does he send any message to your team, of your coach, if you have him a 2-year deal or a 4-year
He's
deal?
upset. He's very upset about it.
I'm asking Brian.
He's very upset about it. Okay?
But I'm talking about the overall organization.
Now, the players will deal with it.
Huh?
Players will deal with what's in front of them. They may not be happy about it, but they'll deal with it. And so will Leslie, quite frankly. And the organization, I mean, come on, they're one player, this, that. They're one stadium away from being an incredibly valuable franchise.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
And
they're
on
once,
the
that's
path.
right, Sid.
So,
they got a new stadium coming, and that thing's going to be flush.
Any money you have to front now, you'll make back tenfold.
Yeah,
when that
because you got that
gets
stadium
there.
coming, you know.
Leslie's plenty upset about
I'm
this.
sure he is.
His agent is very upset about it. And I don't know what changed their mind. At one point, they were going to do it. They were going to give him a 3 or 4 year contract. And then they just changed their mind. And they're paying him pretty good, $2 million. And they didn't want to get
They
stung
change their
again.
mind because
Plus,
they can.
Sid,
Supply and demand.
it's the same agent that got Childress a contract, and that's probably why Frazier isn't getting one.
There you
right.
go. Get to the bottom of it. Take a break, come back. There it is. Thank you to local sponsors that make it happen. Wayne Kostrowski and his whole crew taste the NFL. Support and hunger. Good job, Wayne. Welcome back. Gopher basketball team said official statement.
Well, I checked the RPI tonight. They're still 15th, so they're going to get. They got to do something. They got to. Well, I don't think they can beat Indiana, but I think the next 3 games they got a chance. The thing is, I go to practice every day, and Mbakwe is nowhere near the player he was before he had his knee surgery. He's ices his knees every day, and they hurt him, they bother him. Rodney Williams might as well go end the season. And without those two
No,
guys,
you need him. Even if he's hurt, you still need him.
yeah. Without those 2 guys, there ain't going to be too many teams. Those guys,
And they aren't. And they aren't beating too
No,
many
they're not.
teams.
and they
They're
aren't
2 and
beating
7.
anybody. But they're still going to wind up with the NCAA because of their RPI.
Well, they got to win some games, though. They can't.
Yeah, you
lose
can't
them
go
all.
in at whatever and whatever into the.
You know what?
Keep on losing.
Nebraska is now no layup. They just beat Iowa at home. They got to go to Nebraska. So
Penn
they should
State's
beat
in a
them.
layup level.
Purdue's no cinch either.
At Purdue.
Lots who are your son's playing hockey for Benilde yesterday, section semifinals. A lot of packed. One of the great days is section semifinals, high school hockey. What did you see? Where's Minnesota hockey at right now?
You know what? The game was in big yesterday in Bloomington. Absolutely packed. It was an incredible game. Eden Prairie's got a terrific team. Benilde was afraid of Eden Prairie and Holy Family, quite frankly. Those two played before they played.
Do you like
Benilde.
the level you're seeing right now?
I do.
High school hockey?
I do. I was really impressed with Eden Prairie's team. Benilde won. They're moving on. They've got to play an incredibly talented Wyzetta team that blocks a lot of shots, very defensive. That's going to be a really challenging game for Benilde, and it's two teams that beat each other during the year.
Who
so
made it through Who made it through 6 overtimes? Did you watch 6
Concourse,
overtimes?
1:05 a.m. it ended.
Sted, did you stay up and watch the women's hockey game till 1:05 a.m., 6
No.
overtimes?
No,
No.
how about you? Did you watch it?
Longest ever.
fun.
No, but I found out about it the next morning and wished I had watched the last 10 minutes anyway.
Yeah, thanks to J.D. Hoyts for stopping by.
Yeah,
Thanks to
oh,
Brian
man,
Long
that looks
stopping by.
good.
See you back here next week, everybody.